Hi everyone, so today I want to show you how to use a multivariable measure using the VAR function in DAX, and why we might use this is for cleanliness purposes in our building our models, but the same can be accomplished using multiple measures, and there's a time and a place for that as well. Personally, I use that for when I'm troubleshooting or building out new measures that I've never done before. So today the data set we're working with is from Stats Canada, and it has to do with the employment rate for various provinces and cities throughout the country. So to do that, what we're going to try to calculate is the year-over-year calculation for employment rate. And to start, we will just do the multiple measures approach. So the first measure we want to calculate is the employment rate. So we'll just call that ER for employment rate, and that is simply the sum of the value in the data. We will do a second measure for the employment rate last year, and that is now we're using the calculate function to sum the value, and we're going to do that for the same period last year using the date table. The reason for this, and the reason we've loaded in a date table, is that if you look into the data, the dates are not continuous, and so the time value functions do not work. Okay, so to do the year-over-year calculation, that is really just this year minus last year divided by last year to look at the change in percentage-based terms. So we'll do a final measure of that. So we'll call that the employment rate change. And we can use the previous measures. So we can do the employment rate minus the employment rate last year, all divided by the employment rate last year. And so that will return us a percentage value, and we will plot this after. So the alternative way to do this, instead of having to do several measures, we can instead use the VAR function in DAX. So I'm just going to call this multivariable ER change. And so I like to do this multiple lines. If you want to start a new line, you just hit Shift Enter. So first one, going to do variable, and we'll just call this variable ER, same as we did for the previous measure, and it is the same. So we can do the sum of the value. The next, we are doing a second variable, and that is ER underscore last year. This is important because using the VAR function, you cannot have spaces in the name of the variable. So this one, same thing again, calculate the sum of the value. We're going to do the same period last year for the date table and the date. And then lastly, we're going to return the same equation. So this is going to be the ER, but our ER function or variable minus ER last year, all divided by ER last year. Okay. So now we have this. So what's the best thing to do to kind of visualize this? I'm going to argue a line chart will do the job here. So first we're going to find our x-axis, and we'll just use the date table. You can just click on it, you can drag it, your choice, and then we will look at our employment rate change on the y-axis. Because the data only goes back to 2007, we do not have the appropriate information for that year or beyond. So just for this, let's put a filter on the page so that we don't have to deal with that. So that is going to be from 2009 onward. So we can do greater than or equal to 2009. We'll apply that. And I guess also seeing that we do not go into 2023 with the data, we can do the same thing as less than or equal to 2022. And now we have a nice representation of our visual. And just to show, obviously, that these things are the same, I will show you the multivariable ER change, and they're the same. So what we can do with this as well, if we want to, is we can then take it and apply some layers to the data. So this can be from the geography. So if we did in the legend, we've got the geography. These are all of the various provinces and cities. Obviously, there's a lot going on in there, so you may want to sort of do some work in the background if you were to try to actually visualize this. And obviously, measures don't necessarily get determined as like what's the right appropriate way to display the data. So in this case, we know it's a percentage, so I'm just going to go to the measure in Measure Tools, and I'm going to change it to percentage, and then everything else I'm looking at is adjusted. So, that's it for today. Hope this helps, and we'll see you next time.